Vehicle registration number H4DF 2382 was advertently responsible for the death of Senteza Frank is also not true.
Say no, Parliament is not does not operate by shouting.
There is only one person who makes a decision in this House, and let's allow the member to move his motion.
Vehicle registration number UP 4841 was involved in the deliberate killing of Rita Nabukera, and the matter remained uninvestigated is also not true.
It should never take anybody with any power 40 days to respond to the needs of the people, especially when it relates to rights, Mr. Speaker. And it's 40 days plus 2.5 years, Mr. Speaker.
Why are you quarreling like this is Kira municipality?
No, I thought, Madam Speaker, after 2 years in Parliament, even if there was no orientation, people will know that rules here are very important.
Mr. Speaker, I don't need 40 days. I'll be back on Tuesday to make a rejoinder.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Kankwanjulire Hajaruna omusomi w'edduwa Nakinku ng'onava mulendwadde nnyingi nnyo olyeyo ng'otawanyizibwa mu mukwano otawanyizibwa mu mirimu weetaaga kumikisa oyagala kugenda mitala w'amayanja oba obweru w'eggwanga otawanyizibwa amajinni oba shaitwan n'ebintu ebirala bingi nnyo Hajaruna akusomera dduwa n'akuvumula bulungi nnyo n'otabaako kintu kyonna ky'ojula. Hajaruna akola ku bantu bonna awatali kusosola mawanga awatali kusosola madiini ne mu nzikiriza zonna. Hajaruna asangibwe Burumaji ku luguudo lw'Ejjinja era osobola okumukubira ku simu ze z'olabawo ku screen, osobola okukuba direct oba n'oyitira ddala ku WhatsApp n'osobola okumufuna n'akuyamba mu buzibu bwonna bw'olina.
Madam Speaker, this Parliament is aware that the leader of opposition and his team walked away on matters of human rights because we value matters of human rights more than any other issue. The procedure issue, Madam Speaker, accompanied with a request, is that you vary the order paper, which power you have, Madam Speaker, and you have done, for the good of all of us, to bring this matter earlier, so that we engage with it, or we engage with other matters. We have millions of people that we represent here. Their expectation is that a matter of this magnitude will actually persuade you to give it priority. So the procedure accompanied with the request, Madam Speaker, is that you vary the order paper like you have done in many other instances before, and have this matter come before this bill, before this statement on netball, so that, Madam Speaker, we sit here with comfort that a matter we consider, or a side of Parliament considers very, very serious, is handled, and then we can comfortably deal with these other matters, Madam Speaker. And I want to beg for your indulgence and thank you because you have accommodated all of us.
Since you said you want it to be brought before issues of netball, I will move it before netball. That is okay. I am responding to Honorable Semonjo Lob. Lob, please, first wait. It sorted today. And I am going to bring it before netball. I will bring it, Semonjo, I will bring it out before netball. Because I know netball will take a lot of time. This one of laying, I am more interested in finalizing this thing more than anybody. Okay?
Much obliged, Right Honorable Speaker. As I came in, I found my brother, the Honorable Semonjo, making a very passionate plea to you to allow for this matter to be given a priority. And for the reasons you have more than any other person fully appreciated, and we appreciate you for that I'm understanding. Honourable Speaker, because of the gravity of this subject,
Honourable, just a minute, Lord. Government, where is the Minister of...
Right, Honourable Speaker, the Minister is on his way coming, but he was held up in Kololo. That's what he was telling me, but he's on his way. Anytime he will be here.
Honourable members, I had a meeting with General Mohosi in my office, and he said he was going for lunch. And let's give a benefit of doubt. I know you've been patient, and let's continue as we wait. Few minutes. It doesn't cost us much.
Madam Speaker, the motion is under Rule 59. And the motion is that, Madam Speaker, you suspend Parliament for 15 minutes. Don't say no. Parliament is not does not operate by shouting.
There is only one person who makes a decision in this House, and let's allow the member to move his motion.
Wrong with Chankwan's graduates.
Why are you quarreling like this is Kira municipality?
No, I thought, Madam Speaker, after 2 years in Parliament, even if there was no orientation, people will know that rules here are very important. But they're just shouting as if you're in Chankwan's brew roasting. Madam Speaker, the motion.
Bring your motion.
The motion, Madam Speaker, falls under 59. And the motion, Madam Speaker, is that you suspend Parliament for 15 minutes. Since in your earlier ruling you said this matter is very serious and you also want to deal with it. And Madam Speaker, knowing the conduct of many of the ministers, including those who are now here shouting as if that is the form of interaction here. So the motion is that you suspend Parliament for 15 minutes to allow this minister who was on his way to come to Parliament and attend to a matter that, in your own judgment, you have ruled is very important and you have altered the order paper as a result. Madam Speaker, I make to move.
I am putting a question. You don't teach me what to say. You know, you've been out of Parliament for some days, Malende. Is the motion seconded? I am putting a question that those in favor of suspension of the House for 15 minutes, say aye. To the contrary, nay. You mean you're the speakers? The nays have it. Honorable members, guided yesterday, today we will receive a response by the executive to the concerns raised by the leader of opposition in Parliament regarding the enforcement of disappearances of persons and other human rights related matters. This is in fulfillment of the directive of the presiding officer then on 19th October 2023. The minister was supposed to bring a statement on 19th, which fell on a weekend. They were now supposed to come back on 21st, and they wrote to my office asking for an extension for 1 week. And today, the minister has informed us that he's ready. And because the minister has given us the document, which has been duly uploaded, can we now listen, attentively listen
November 2020, riots and attendant loss of lives, injuries, destruction, and related matters. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, this is yet one other additional response on this matter and all others incidental thereto. Contrary to what the Honorable Lope claims, an investigation was done immediately after the riots, and a report to that effect was presented to the last Parliament by the then Minister of Internal Affairs. That, in addition to other subsequent numerous responses made about the subject matter, including in this Parliament. I needed to make that clarification from the onset to clear the air. That said, and by way of a recap, violent riots broke out and rocked various parts of the country in November 2020 before they were quelled by police and other security agencies. These riots covered Kampala and Wakiso, which were the epicenter of the riots, as well as Mukono, Masaka, Chotera, Rengo, Mpiji, Luero, Oblenzi, Mitiana, Lugazi, Njeru, Jinja, Buenge, Iganga, Namayingo, Namtumba, Luka, Kamuli, Budaka, Busiambale, Arua, and Gulu, respectively. During these riots, extensive loss of property, private and public, and damage to and loss of lives were registered. The destruction incidental to the riots or directly arising from the various riotous acts was immense. This included deliberate acts of arson or torching of buildings and vehicles, use of stones and other objects to hit innocent members of the public, motorists, security personnel and property, physical assault, manhandling and abuse of members of the public as well as law enforcement officers, staging of illegal roadblocks and demanding money with menaces from members of the public. There was also burning of tires to damage and block public roads and throwing petrol bombs into buildings and at security/law enforcement officers, among others. During this chaos, even ordinarily sanctified places like court premises were not spared. Warren's court premises were set ablaze. 56 people lost their lives, including those by gunshot wounds and others whose deaths were through other causes incidental to the riots. The latter category includes those that lost their lives as a result of accidents, motor vehicle accidents involving, for example, vehicle registration number UAN H27N, whose driver lost control after being hit by a stone and knocked 2 people dead, namely Nalwada Kevin and Nsimbe Shafiq. 46 people out of the 56 victims were male adults and 3 were male juveniles. 48 of the victims were from Kampala metropolitan areas also. This includes Kampala, Wakiso, and Mukono. 2 were from Jinja, 2 were from Luero, 1 from Rakai, 1 from Chinoni, Luengo, 1 from Butambala, and 1 from Piji, respectively. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, security operations are governed by the law to ensure and guide the participating forces on the employment of lethal force. This is ensured through a number of ways, including training, briefing before operations, and debriefing post-operations, as well as dissemination of rules of engagement, which have been distilled and reduced into pocketbooks for the tactical operators. The SOPs on the use of force booklet is attached as Annex B to this statement. These are the 8 memoirs to assist operators to make informed and rational judgment, depending on the circumstances of each case and the prevailing situation, but mindful of the principles of necessity and proportionality in the use of force. These measures, Right Honorable Speaker and members, were in place. Vehicle registration number H4DF2382 was advertently responsible for the death of Senteza Frank is also not true. Investigations conducted, reference Natete TAR 90/2020, revealed that the said Senteza Frank fell off a speeding vehicle, number UBH 856T, minibus Toyota Hiace, used by the NUP supporters during the incident at Busega roundabout, where the deceased, who was reportedly part of the inner detail of the NUP leader Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, had with others aboard the mentioned minibus vehicle, jumped out and encircled their principal's vehicle, which had slowed down for him to wave to the roadside crowds. When the principal's vehicle sped off, all the others except the deceased managed to reboard the moving Toyota Hiace minibus in time. The deceased was not as fortunate and fatally fell off after missing a step in his unsuccessful attempt to reboard the said minibus vehicle. The military police vehicle mentioned was following this motorcade from behind when the incident happened, but is not responsible for this fatality. There was media footage that time regarding this incident, which vindicates this narrative. The deceased was rushed to Rubaga Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. He was hurriedly buried with no post-mortem conducted. The crew of the military vehicle are available, so too are other ordinary people who witnessed the incident and have all given their credible testimony about the matter. A coroner's probe into the death, had it been allowed to be done, could have rested this matter. Needless to mention that the conduct of the occupants of the above-mentioned minibus of jumping on and off a moving vehicle, which resulted in this fatality, was without a doubt in total disregard of caution and in breach of the traffic and road safety laws of the country. The alleged vehicle registration number UP 4841 was involved in the deliberate killing of Rita Nabukera, and the matter remained uninvestigated is also not true. The driver of that vehicle, Constable number 39975 Atikuru Nasasra, was arrested and the matter subjected to investigations. Following the conclusion of these investigations, the file was forwarded to the RSA, Nakawa, for sanctioning of the charge against the suspect in the course of law. The regional state attorney, however, didn't sanction the charges, reportedly because the evidence on record was not sufficient to support the charge of causing death through reckless driving, contrary to Section 1081 of the Traffic and Road Safety Act. All this is available for cross-checking. Injuries. A number of people are injured in the riots, and their names are listed in Annex D to the report. These include the widely publicized case of the police female officer whose violent attack by rioters with a hammer was captured on social media. This is ASP Kasule Consolata. Compensation. The government has undertaken to compensate the victims of the riots, deaths and riots who opt to settle out of court, while those who sued government have their cases ongoing and will be handled according to the outcome of the cases. The Office of the AG is handling the matter. Missing persons. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the safety and security of persons residing within the territory of Uganda is the responsibility of the government. Disappearance of persons, whether the hands of the state or even by private persons, could inevitably be of concern to government. The Constitution of the Republic of Uganda guarantees the protection of personal liberty and also provides permissible lawful circumstances under which the right to liberty can be interfered with. The manner of arrest, including by members of the public, is well provided for in the law. Once lawfully arrested, a suspect should be held in a legally gazetted place. In addition, our criminal justice system is premised on the presumption of innocence. During arrest or once arrested, only reasonable, proportionate, justifiable, and lawful application of force is permitted to cause the arrest of a suspect or to restrain him or her in the event that the suspect acts in a manner incompatible with lawful confinement. No one, except a court of competent jurisdiction, through a fair trial process, can determine the guilt of a person and the accompanying penalty. This renders actionable anything outside the law regarding the conduct of arrests and management of suspects in custody. This is the law. It has also been reinforced by various SOPs, including guidance from the Commander-in-Chief himself, attached herewith as Annex E. That said, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the Uganda Police Force did conduct investigations into the matter of the alleged missing persons. The police, however, was confronted with a number of challenges and constraints which do compromise the integrity of the findings from the people given by the Honorable Lope as next of kin. The next of kin of the reported missing persons, first of all, didn't cooperate with the police investigators until the police team had to hold out as members of an NGO in order to interview these people. For example, Nabakoza Florence, the next of kin of Wangolo Dennis, alias Shafiq, declined to meet the investigators, stating that she had not got instructions from NUP to meet any person. Nanyonjo Oliver, the reported next of kin to Luwemba Mustafa, made further reference to one Musisi, who became hostile when the team requested to meet him. Later, there emerged trending videos and audios from the Honorable leader of opposition that the police team wanted to meet this next of kin at night, which wasn't true. The next of kin preferred dealing with NGOs as opposed to the official investigative agency of government, the police, which makes the work to find the truth about the matter extremely difficult. People who are allegedly arrested with some of the reported missing persons also refused to make statements. For example, Musa Sali, Kasasa Amim Muwaire, and Sembajwe Hakim, who allegedly arrested with Semodum Michael Jackson, declined to provide information to the police. Most of the alleged disappearances were never reported to the police. For example, the alleged disappearance of Damlira John, Chiria Peter, Wangolo Dennis, Cesaz Isma, Mubiru Hassan, Baguma Joseph, alias Semuju Joseph, and Zimula Dennis, alias Boy, were all never reported to the police. Right Honorable Speaker and members, it is the law and official practice that for one to be declared a missing person's report must be filed. This can only be with the police, which wasn't done and which is still being resisted by the people approached. Hearsay testimony by the next of kin and witnesses. Most of the next of kin aren't eyewitnesses to the alleged disappearances. They were recounting to the investigators, CAM NGO, the stories of the arrests as told by unidentified and unascertainable third parties and third sources, which renders these secondary testimonies unreliable and less corroborated. Fictitious people. Investigations reveal that there exists no Semuju Joseph as listed in Lope's tabulated matrix serial number 10. The contacted next of kin insisted that the alleged Semuju Joseph is actually Baguma Joseph, serial number 17, whose alleged disappearance was never reported. Searches were carried out in different government data banks, to wit Interpol, Forensics, NIRA, City Mortuary, Kampala, and Immigration. In NIRA records, information of 9 people out of the 18 wasn't available. The data profile lack thereof from the various agencies for the given names is contained in Annex F, and I will refer to each of the names later. This, where the leader of opposition attributed an alleged disappearance to security, had been reported earlier by the relatives of these people as unwitnessed disappearances. And these include Kasumba George, Kisembo Godfrey, and Kibalama John Bosco. Despite most of the alleged occurrences being reported to have taken in broad daylight, none of the alleged witnesses mentioned the registration number plates of the alleged vehicles involved. It has also been established that there is a well-orchestrated smear campaign of aiding people who seek to go abroad in search of livelihood opportunities to claim political persecution and/or persecution for belonging to sexual minorities. These false and mendacious claims against government are unfortunately sometimes believed by those in the host countries who are gullible to take these claims as true without verification. Others still sometimes are fugitives from justice. For example, the suspects who had evaded appearing in court for assaulting a one-Kamuntu Ivan, alias Majambere, were aided to leave the country. These are Unzima Godfrey, alias Tower, and Shikomeko, alias Yekolera, alias Itongwa, who assaulted Majambere and were due for prosecution when they fled. Unzima eventually returned and was charged but granted bail. There are more Muslims in detention than the other denominations. Uganda is a secular country. The right to freedom of worship is guaranteed by the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. The government is and has always been committed to respecting the rights of all people, irrespective of their faith. Participation in crime, in all its manifestations, is an individual choice. Any attempt, therefore, to seek shelter in ethnicity, religion, gender, or political affiliation in order to evade criminal liability is grossly misleading and untenable. In the unlikely event that there are wrongs committed by law enforcement or security agencies in the course of their work, including the conduct of arrests, these should be addressed according to the specific circumstances of each particular case, but not on the basis of the identity of the suspect. It would be wrong and unlawful for law enforcement to mistreat a Muslim by applying methods that are in contravention of the law, as it would any other person of a different faith, or even those that don't subscribe to any religion at all, for that matter, because the sanctity of human life and attendant rights are common to all, irrespective of identity or social standing, and should be respected and protected as such. The statistics from the Uganda Prison Service as of 30th September 2023 indicate that Muslims constitute only 16.4% of the inmates of all Uganda, in all Uganda's prisons. They fall far behind Catholics, who are 43.1%, and Protestants, who are 29.5% respectively. It is therefore clearly not true that the number of Muslims in prisons is bigger than that of the other denominations, even in relative terms, in terms of population ratio. It is also equally not true, because of these statistics, that the Catholics and Protestants are targeted on account of their faith. The detailed statistics from the Uganda Prison Service are attached as Annex H1, H2, H3, and H4 for reference. Pre-trial detention. The government strives to ensure that only persons charged before competent courts of law are held in prisons, and every suspect has its commitment warrant. Indeed, government is duty-bound to ensure that the persons in custody are lawfully arrested, duly charged, and lawfully remanded in prison. The fate, therefore, after all this due process, lies with the courts of law once they are charged. However, it may be the case sometimes, due to the nature of investigations of some cases, for suspects to be held beyond 48 hours before they are charged. Government is working around the clock. Government is working around the clock to ensure that these issues are sorted and due process is followed, including the possibility of legal reforms as well as other pragmatic administrative measures to improve our criminal justice system. And I'm glad as I came here, one such measure was being handled by Parliament. Government acknowledges that in the recent past, the judicial system was bedeviled with pre-trial detention, also partly owing to the limited number of judicial officers and prosecutors. Government has addressed and continues to address this matter through the recruitment of more judicial officers, prosecutor, and state attorneys, and the increase of high court circuits, court of appeal circuits, and the magistrates' courts. Indeed, the independence of the judiciary has also been enhanced by the enactment of the Administration of the Judiciary Act 2020. It is expected that these interventions will bolster the efficient disposal of cases and thereby drastically address the issue of pre-trial detention. In any case, there are also remedies other than suing government, which anyone can invoke within the law presently for those cases of detention beyond the prescribed period before trial. These include the right to invoke the writ of habeas corpus, among others. Alleged human rights violations in fishing communities. Prior to government's strategic decision to deploy UPDF on the waters of Uganda, the fishing industry was on the brink of collapse, and fish processing industries had begun to close. This was attributed to the indiscriminate and unregulated fishing by the fishing community. There has been tremendous improvement in the fishing industry thanks to this intervention by the President of setting up the UPDF task force to deal with irregular fishing. In the course of its work, however, complaints of misconduct by personnel of this unit have sometimes been registered. The UPDF has a code of conduct which, since its inception as NRA, has been integral to the law governing the UPDF. That is the UPDF Act and the NRA statute before it. The UPDF arose out of popular frustration against misrule including repressive behavior against the population by members of the armed forces. No wonder in the Constitution of Uganda, the befitting name of choice for the force was UPDF, emphasizing the founding character of the UPDF as a people's force. I want to assure the House that this remains the case, and whoever deviates within the ranks is dealt with according to the law. What I know, and is public, illegal fishing gear, as well as the immature fish, once impounded, are usually publicly disposed of. I wish therefore to report that many of these complaints have been dealt with and the culprits punished. The details of the information about the cases registered and action taken is available with the MOD, Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs. Alleged political prisoners in custody. Uganda is a democratic country under the multi-party dispensation. The rights to freedom of association and expression are guaranteed under the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. It's not a crime to belong to a political party and to lawfully carry out and participate in the activities of political parties. Premised on the above, the government of Uganda doesn't arrest people because of their political inclination. People are arrested and charged for suspicion of commission of crimes that are clearly prescribed under the law. The people reportedly held in custody were charged with various offenses, and the courts will determine their cases. If there are complaints about the conduct of these cases, there are remedies within the law which can be invoked by the complainants. Agencies and institutions of government are not above the law. The General Court Martial's jurisdiction, which is being challenged in Lope's statement, is a lawful court and has jurisdiction over the trial of civilians, where such civilians are charged with offenses of the nature that brings them under the ambit of the jurisdiction of this court. This is the position of the law until the matter of the court's jurisdiction is settled by the Supreme Court, where an appeal about the court's jurisdiction presently lies. The details of the persons under trial at the GCM are in Annex I for reference. In conclusion, Right Honorable Speaker and members, the government of Uganda is committed to the respect, observance, promotion and protection of human rights of all its citizens. It's one of its core values and beliefs. Government has its roots in resistance against misrule, characterized by gross violations of human rights. Therefore, wrongs within its ranks, in the unlikely event that they happen, cannot be systemic. They can only be individual mistakes, which should certainly also be dealt with. It's government's consistent commitment to expose and punish mischief within its ranks, even when sometimes it may take time to do so for a number of unintended reasons and circumstances. Government believes in accountability, believes in the rule of law and compliance with due process. Incidentally, there is no limitation period in our laws as far as criminal liability is concerned. Any fresh and credible information is welcome, provided it is reported officially to the appropriate authorities in order to aid the conduct of formal investigations. The response, Right Honorable Speaker and members, suffices to illustrate that compliance with due process is not mere sloganeering or formality. It is government's founding and enduring philosophy. Last, I would want to remind our colleagues in the opposition that democracy is not just about the exercise of right. It's also about observance of the duties and obligations that accompany those rights. It's about the exercise of civility and leadership, even in instances where we may have divergent perspectives on how to build, grow, and consolidate our democracy. Towards this end, government has always been willing to constructively engage on these and other pertinent matters. Hopefully, our colleagues are also willing to reciprocate and stand tall above prejudice and politicking to use the available abundant civic space for the advancement of our common good. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, this is our considered response. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable.
The Honourable Minister of State for Internal Affairs for reading out a statement signed off by his senior who never attends to House plenary since he was vetted in a committee in which I was a part. Right Honourable Speaker, Leon Trestroy was a philosopher, political philosopher from the 19th century, and had this to say: if you feel pain, you are alive. If you feel other people's pain, you are a human being. Let each of us place ourselves in any of those spaces, whether we are both or one of those. Right, Honourable Speaker. Right, Honourable Speaker, the power of the people is resident in this House of Parliament, and the power to sustain it is domiciled in Parliament. And therefore, nobody can repurpose the power of Parliament to sustain, maintain, and assure the power of the people. I graciously received this document around 11 o'clock from the minister, and I appreciate. It's a 17-page document, authored over a period of 40 days. If you divide 40 by 17, it can speak to the number of paragraphs authored on each day. We appreciate the attempt to respond to this. Right, Honourable Speaker, it should never take anybody with any power 40 days to respond to the needs of the people, especially when it relates to rights, right, Honourable Speaker. And it's 40 days plus 2.5 years, right, Honourable Speaker. Right, Honourable Speaker, now that we have received this, I would like to ask of your indulgence to allow me and my team to make a rejoinder to this statement. And this rejoinder will place each one of us in the philosophy of Leon, whether we are actually alive or indeed we are humans. Right, Honourable Speaker, I don't need 40 days. I'll be back on Tuesday to make a rejoinder, right, Honourable Speaker. And in that rejoinder, I'll make very particularized prayers for which this House of Parliament will be on taste. I'm glad I'm here, right, Honourable Speaker, that I have learned new phrases and new words such as unwitnessed disappearance. When the Honourable was mentoring...
Can we first handle on your prayer?
Right, Honourable Speaker, I so pray that the prayer is finds your consideration, that we make a rejoinder, so that we can make good sense out of this 17-page document authored across 40 days. I give it to pray.
Thank you. That is the civil Honourable Mpoga I know. Honourable members, the report came a little late, and we expect a rejoinder from the opposition. And it's just prudent enough that we give the leader of opposition to bring his rejoinder on Tuesday at 2, and then we'll have this report. We'll take a decision on that day on what we'll do. I now adjourn the House to 2 tomorrow.
abo abattibwa eyo ku nnyanja ne ku mbalama zaayo ng'abalanga okubeera abalunnyanja. Tujja kudda ku Lwokubiri, tujja kutegeeza eggwanga ekiddako nga tuzze okuwa okulambulula kiripooti kino ekyekimpatiira n'okikubamu ebituli. Tujja bategeeza ekiddako. Thank you.
Bano beeyongedde kweteeka gwa kabugu mu bulago ntegeeza omuguwa olw'ensonga ebyogeddwa olaba nga byonna bayongedde nabo bennyini kwekomentinga naye tebalina kiddako era tebalina solution. Naye ng'ababaka abaalabye ebintu ng'etubiraba era enkya tetuli mu palamenti olwokuna wabula olwokubiri tugenda kukomawo nga tumaze okutuulamu kubanga byonna bye tusalawo tetubisalawo ng'abantu wabula tubisalawo kukola bannayuganda tulabe ki kye tuzzaako oba oli awo ate action ki kubanga bino tebinnaggwa era abannayuganda temulowooza nti kakati olwo kiwedde. Olugendo lukyali luwanvu ku nsonga eno kubanga ffe tubanja abantu baffe bakibalama baddamulira, tubanja abaana baffe batwala mu koti maasho, ekyo kirina okukomezebwa. So ekyo kyekiddako naye bannayuganda bajja kimanya.
Ripooti eweerebbwa ebadde yeewozaako bwewoza naye nga teddamu bizibu bye twabuuza. Kubanga mu bizibu byaffe bye twateeka ku fulo ya Parliament byali specific nga twagala kulaba abantu 18 abaabuzibwawo be baliwa era lwaki baabuzibwawo era baliwa babatuwe. Kino tuli ku nsonga za ssemateeka right to habeas corpus. Omuntu ng'akwatibwa aleetebwe mu kooti avunaanibwe oba mufu oba mulamu. Kakati ffe kye tubadde twetaaga naye olaba nga information ebadde mu ripooti yonna ebadde nnyonnyola bunnyonnyozi embeera ebaddewo ate nga tewa na ssuubi nti abantu abaakosebwa kale n'abo abalinga egidi be bagamba nti boogera nabo bagenda kubakompasatinga batya era balonze batya okulaba nti bano be batuukanye ne compensation bano be batatuukanye. Bw'otuuka ku nsonga y'ebyobuvubi annyonnyodde bunnyonnyozi nti amagye gaaleetebwa 2017 ennyanja yali eyonoonese. Ekyo si kyekizibu kyaffe, ffe tugamba kituufu ennyanja yali eyonoonese naye kati eteredde. Naye lwaki abantu babatta nga bavuba ng'ate amagye gajja kutereeza nnyanja ku lwabo bannayuganda baganyulwemu? So tubuuza bantu bameka abaakattibwa gavumenti bemanyi ng'amagye gabatira ku nnyanja era abantu abo abatibbwa bagenda kubeera harmonized batya ne family zaabwe zigenda kubeera compensated zitya? Era tubuuza bakolera mu tteeka ki bano bannamagye okubeera ku nnyanja era etteeka eryo tuufu oba likontana ne ssemateeka? Era bwe tuba Parliament twayise etteeka lwaki ate lityoboolwa? So kaakati tubadde tusuubira ansa ennyimpi ennyo nga zitegerekeka naye ate atuwadde ansa mpanvu nnyo naye nga tezitegerekeka era nga tekuliiko na ssuubi na limu ku bizibu byaffe. Tulowooza nti rejoinder gye tugenda okubaddamu ku lunaku olwokubiri tujja kuba nga tweyongera okubeera specific ku biki bye twagala gavumenti ekole era n'okutegeeza bannayuganda ekiddako.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Kankwanjulire Hajji Haruna omusomi w'edduwa Nakinku ng'onaava mu ndwadde nnyingi nnyo oli eyo ng'otawanyizibwa mu mukwano, otawanyizibwa mu mirimu, weetaaga kumikisa, oyagala kugenda mitala w'amayanja oba obweru w'eggwanga, otawanyizibwa amajjini oba shaitani n'ebintu ebirala bingi nnyo. Hajji Haruna akusomera dduwa n'akuvumula bulungi nnyo n'otabaako kintu kyonna ky'ojula. Hajji Haruna akola ku bantu bonna awatali kusosola mawanga, awatali kusosola madiini ne mu nzikiriza zonna. Hajji Haruna asangibwa Bulumagi ku luguudo lw'Ejjinja era osobola okumukubira ku ssimu ze z'olabawo ku screen. Osobola okukuba direct oba n'oyitira ddala ku WhatsApp n'osobola okumufuna n'akuyamba mu buzibu bwonna bw'olina.